12:37. I wonder how much you have given up to look after other people. A new report on inequality suggests that middle-aged women in particular have been turned into an army of unpaid carers. You suffer a loss in income, job prospects, even your health. A landmark study into fairness in modern Britain, out today, shows a quarter of women in their 50s have carer responsibilities, mostly looking after their elderly mum or dad. It's estimated these people save the taxpayer £87 billion by providing free care. And it's not just women. Nearly 1 in 5 men have responsibilities as a carer too. The report calls you the dutiful middle-aged. Chances are you might have just finished looking after your own children, you've got responsibilities for grandchildren, and now you're turning your attention to your parents. I wonder if you do it with relish or a sense of desperation. Well, Helping Hands is an organisation that's also raised concerns that millions of people in Britain are struggling to care for elderly parents, and perhaps grandchildren as well. They're often called the sandwich generation. Lindsay Edgehill is from Helping Hands and she's on the line now. Lindsay, good to have you on the show. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Jules.
A lot of people relish caring for members of their family. They think that they are the right people to do it. Even so, it doesn't make it easy, does it?
No, certainly not. I mean, the research that we looked at found that almost 65% of people who are grandparents are still, who have parents that are still alive, are actually involved in the care of both their parents and their grandchildren. It's a really tough, difficult time, and people don't know where to turn because, of course, guilt is the overriding factor where they feel they have to take this burden upon themselves.
So people are doing it even if there isn't the space in their lives to do it because that's what you do for your family. And the Labour government, just before the election, were talking about a national caring service. Now, of course, you wonder now where all the money would come from for that. But is that what we need in this country now?
Well, I mean, the cost of care, the financial cost of care is one argument. You've then got to look at the physical and emotional cost that it plays upon the people who are providing the care. There was a report out recently from the World Alzheimer Report that said, I think, 42% of the total cost of dementia worldwide is borne by the informal carers in our society. So undoubtedly there is a huge question when it comes to the financial, but also the emotional support that these people need, because it certainly is twofold.
Do you think anyone should be made to feel guilty, bad about themselves if they say, I can't do it? Or at least perhaps I've done it for a while and I can't keep doing it?
I mean, it's not my place to say how people should feel, but certainly my personal experience, it's a really tough time. Let me give you an example. I spoke to a lady in Bromley not long ago whose mum had suffered a stroke. Now, not only was her mobility had been affected really badly, so she needed somebody with her all the time. Now, this lady was also having to care for her grandchildren in terms of her school pickups and drop-offs. Now, this lady was absolutely torn in terms of she couldn't be in two places at the same time, was panicking about her mum's circumstance and whether she was going to be okay. And you could tell that the stress and the impact it was having on her physically and emotionally, on her relationships with her wider family, was huge, absolutely huge.
So the difficulty, I suppose, in that situation is you ultimately have to have a conversation with the other people involved and with the son or daughter, with the grandchildren, and say, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But, a grandparent who's helping out never wants to do that. Did she ever resolve the situation, do you know, Lindsay?
We were able to help her in that instance because we can provide with this permanent one-to-one care that was looking for, and because it was still within her mum's own home, it certainly helps to alleviate that guilt so they don't have the disruption of sending mum into a residential home. But a big thing is that people really need to understand there is choice, there is help, but the more that perhaps you can pre-plan for this situation, families have become very extended now geographically, so the more that families can talk earlier in the process about things they can do when it comes to that time and work together and look what their options are and have realistic expectations of each other and know when it's time to call in for professional help really is quite key.
I think that's so telling. I was having a conversation with a friend about this very recently, and she was talking about her mother-in-law and suspecting that problems might be afoot with her mother-in-law, but nobody wanted to broach the subject, and it's difficult because it's so sensitive, isn't it?
It's very sensitive, and nobody likes having these difficult conversations, but it makes life so much easier if you can plan ahead and look, what are our options? There are a certain amount we can do at the family. There are services available that means that our parents can stay at home with a little bit of support, whether it's for a few hours a day or whether it's with a permanent live-in carer. there are ways that we can complement the family support without taking it away, but not leaving you with the total burden that often falls to many, many members of our society.
It sounds to me like you're able to offer people really good advice, Lindsay. Is there a website that people can go to find out more?
If you want to learn more about the service that we can provide, we are helpinghandshomecare.co.uk.
helpinghandshomecare.co.uk. It's been good talking to you. Thanks, Lindsay. Thank you very much indeed for your time. If that sounds like you, I do hope that you're able to keep yourself on track as well. It's so difficult, isn't it, when you're taking responsibility for often a younger generation and you're looking after an elderly parent as well. We talk about it quite a lot on this radio station because it's happening, because of the way the generations fall these days. It's happening that people are looking in both directions at the same time, and it can be so tough. BBC Radio Kent, the great